What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Badgers Talk with Rohan Chakravarthi. Today, I'm here with a special guest, the one and only three-star recruit in the 2025 class and the number two recruit for the Wisconsin Badgers, Remington Moss. Remington, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm good, and I appreciate you taking the time to record with me this morning. Your decision was a very interesting one. You had a visit at the end of July, ended up, committing on that visit. What kind of led you to making that decision at that moment itself?
Really? I mean, I went up there back in November with the old coaching staff, and I seen what Coach Fick has done at Cincinnati at a non-Power Five school, and then going up and visiting the new coaching staff, seeing what they were about, seeing how serious they were taking me, you know, seeing how serious they're taking winning, and I saw the opportunity, the chance to come in and compete first year. So I thought, like, why not just do it now? Get everything out the way and focus on my season.
Before we get to the good, let's start, with the opposite. Starting off with that, the old coaching staff. You came up in November, but there was a head coaching change and then another one that happened at the end of the season. Talk to me through, your initial conversations with the old staff and kind of what fizzled down once they had ended up being departed.
Really, I talked to the old staff, and I think a week or two later they were gone. So it's kind of like, I talked to them. They saw my skills. They saw like my IQ. They saw it was high. They were like, it's kind of like they did me a favor before they left and just offered me because they were gone like next week.
And then the new staff comes in. Was it were did they kind of tell you that you were going to be a priority early on? How did that transition occur?
Really? So they said the old staff didn't really leave them with you know, the old like some recruits. So they kind of got onto me late. Like they got onto me like May, June-ish. They said like if they see me sooner, they would have definitely come see me in the spring. But I mean, once we got it rolling, it's been great ever since.
Now, you're not a recruit who is just up and coming. You already had 27 offers from D1 schools. So it's not like there wasn't a bevy of interest for you. But ultimately, what caused you to kind of narrow down your schools early on and eventually reach a decision to get to Wisconsin?
Yeah, so I'm confident in my ability. I think I can, play at some good places. But what I really want to do is win, and what I really want to do is compete and play first, like be able to play first year. And I think at Wisconsin, I have the ability to compete and play first year, and also get close to winning the national championship. Because at Cincinnati, they made it to the playoffs with a non-power five school. So I think that here, it's one of the best opportunities I got.
And you talk about, hometown interest, that kind of thing. You're not from Wisconsin, you're from the East. What was kind of your expectations when you first visited campus back in November? And then obviously this month when you really got to it compared to, what actually went down at Wisconsin.
Hey, when I first heard about Wisconsin, I was like, where? I didn't even know where that was at. Like, I had no clue where I was at. But, once I went up there in November, I got some family in Wisconsin, I stayed with them. And I got to look at Madison. Like, I stayed in Madison for about 3 days for my last visit. So I kind of got to see the city. It's a nice city. It's a very nice town. It's definitely a place I could see myself living in if football doesn't work out, which is also like something my parents always told me to, make sure.
Now, I feel you, man. Like I'm from California. So when I found out I was going to end up going to school in Wisconsin of all places, I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah, that's what
I'm
I'm
telling
saying.
you, I'm from the exact opposite side. I'm not from the cold either, but I'll say it's definitely been a better experience for sure than I expected. But going back to the college side, you had offers from schools like Penn State, schools like Rutgers, schools like Syracuse, all schools near your hometown. Kind of
Yeah.
having that hometown appeal. Did that play a role in your recruitment? And if so, how did Wisconsin kind of win you over?
Did it play a role? Kind of, because like when I first started, you don't really know what's like what offer you're gonna get next, kind of. So when I first started off with Maryland, I'm like, oh yeah, like they're automatically gonna be at the top of the board because they're about 45 minutes from my house. But I like as I kept getting more offers, as everything kept coming in, I'm thinking, I don't want to be too close to home, but really it doesn't matter. I just want to, be in a good city where I know I'm gonna be straight and I know I'm gonna be able to play some good football. So
And then, talking about that July visit itself, the one where you ultimately ended up committing after, what was kind of, what kind of like drew you? What was like that final straw that you were like, yeah, this is it?
what kind of drew me? I mean, like I'm not gonna lie, I was probably thinking about going there, thinking about going there for a calm like month and a half, 2 months. But what really drew me was just like meeting the staff, just getting a feel of them and just seeing how serious they're taking how serious they're taking this and how pumped up they were, And it was a different visit. Like anybody who's there can tell you they've never had a visit like that. Like I don't care what they say. Like we were doing some different stuff. We went on a scavenger hunt, and like on the scavenger hunt, I'm just getting a bond with Coach Hitch, and like that was cool to do. Go around Madison and explore. So I'm looking at the city, and I'm with the coaching staff, and then we talking ball later. So it was a great experience, a great bonding experience.
And finally, what was kind of like Coach Fick's pitch to you that sealed the deal, made you say, this is my spot?
Shoot, I was in his office. I asked him straight up because I wanted a straight up answer. I said, you know, because I loved everything else. I said, "Do you see me contributing here when I come, when like my first year?" And he was like, "Yeah, like you're the type of guy we need. Wisconsin really doesn't have a history of like long, lengthy DBs, so I definitely think I could come in, like and just make something shake."
What are you weighing in, standing at about right now?
It's like 6'1", 180.
And you think you're going to grow into like, a 6'2", 185, 190 type of corner?
Shoot, 6'2", 185, 190. Yeah, I think so, but yeah, that probably happened like while I'm in college, kind of.
Because Wisconsin might not have that pedigree, but I know you've done your research. Fick, they've coached players like, obviously you've got Kobe Bryant, you've got Sauce Gardner. Kobe Bryant 6'2", about 185. Sauce Gardner 6'3", 190, somewhere in that range. They've coached that type of mold. Talk to me about the research. I know when we spoke last month, you told me about the research that you had done following that visit, and kind of how that really gave you the main assumptions that you were going to make going into this process.
Because they're big on developing. Sauce, like they told me Sauce came in like 150, and now he like 185 now, and like he's like he's a way different player than when he came in. I'm just looking forward to getting developed. Being able to compete, and like everybody's seen Sauce and Kobe like in the past couple of years. I was watching their matchups like every day, like when I first started playing DB, because their technique is great, and they're gonna be like they're great players in the league. So just seeing that and just seeing like me coming in right after, I could potentially be like Sauce, when everything's all said and done.
And about you as a player right now, we're talking corner, but is safety still on your mind? Do you care really where you play at the collegiate level? Do you have a preference?
At the collegiate level, wherever I can get on the field, like I know I can play both. So why limit yourself to play one thing, and when you can increase your chances on getting on the field at both.
I mean, yeah, I feel that. What about the versatility really in you as you as a player? What kind of stands out? What makes you being able to play both cornerback and safety at a high level?
Shoot, I'm a pretty physical corner, and a lot of receivers don't like physical corners. At safety, I can roll down and I have good coverage. I got good zone coverage, and I could roll down, play nickel. Stop the run. Be doing inside running practice and stuff. So, I'm really like kind of like I say like a bigger Tyrann Matthew, like I'm like a Swiss Army knife.
And about you, kind of as a student translating to the game, what what kind of goes through your preparations even in high school? Watching film, trying to get better. Talk to me about that kind of process.
Sure. You gotta wake up, you gotta stretch, you got any injuries, you gotta do some rehab, work on those. You gotta watch a lot of film, you watch film, you're gonna know what every play, like, I had some plays last year, it's like I already knew it was about to happen, so all I gotta do is just sit back and let it play out. And even like during 7-on-7s with my team, and even our last scrimmage, I saw like so many plays where I just seen it before it happened, kind of like on some like that's a Raven. But film is definitely like important, and I think that people definitely need to start watching film a lot more because it elevates your game like crazy. Like I wouldn't be this good if I didn't sit down and study my opponents before I played them.
Now, we know a lot about Remington the player. Why don't you tell Badgers fans what they're getting about Remington the person? What, like you said yourself, one of the main differences on your recruiting visit that you did compared to others, you went straight up to Coach Fick. You said why Wisconsin? You made him kind of sell you on it before you committed. Tell us about you as a person. What's kind of your hobbies at home? What do you like to do outside of football?
So, yeah, outside of football, shoot, I can't like the past couple months. Like really, all I've been doing is watching football and studying football. I really just I love the game. So even if I'm not playing it, there's not a day where I'm not watching at least one like one-on-one matchup, like one just game matchup, just one preseason game or like Hard Knocks or something like that. If football's not on, like I'm probably asleep. So
You got
uh,
to find a way to get that football in your system.
that's what I'm saying. Like I want to be the greatest I can. So I already know people aren't even doing like people aren't sitting home watching, just studying. So I just try and study as much as possible. It's not like I get boring or anything because I always see room for myself to improve.
Now you're from Virginia, but Wisconsin's different kind of cold. What have you heard from other people on how you're gonna have to adapt and things like that?
I mean, they say it's like super cold up there. I mean, we've had some cold winters in Virginia. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it might not be as cold as up there, but I'm ready for it because like, and I think colder like DBs who play in the cold get like drafted higher because in playoffs everything's gonna be cold because it's like the middle of winter. So I think if you get used to it now in college, if I make it to the league, everything goes well, I'll definitely be used to it right there and be having some great games in the cold.
I mean, you're from Virginia. You were better, well equipped than I was. I'm from California, right in the middle of the Bay. I mean, I'm not dealing with this cold at all. And then we go up there. You see -10 for the first day. Whew.
Oh my gosh. I
But
I I didn't know about -10. See,
-10 was the worst day that I remember last year. But I mean, it gonna feel like -10 a lot more because of that wind chill. But yeah, you'll get used to it. Luckily for me, I sit up in a press box while you sit. You got to play on the field, during the day. But
you
you'll
gotta
get
walk
used
to
to
your
it.
car though.
Oh yeah, I mean that'll be a pain, but at least I don't have to sit 3 hours, in that cold.
Yeah.
But talking about the recruiting process as well, tell me about the relationships you've developed with both Coach Hitch and then Coach Haynes.
Um, with Coach Hitch, the relationship, it was cool. Like Coach Hitch is pretty straight up. I got to talk to him about Sauce and Kobe. And he's like, telling me about them. Telling me about the game versus Bama. He was like, if they knew, like, if Sauce could hold him on that island for so much, because like Sauce held his own that game. It was like we would have, put them on the island more. Using like they definitely think that game could be different. That's what I'm saying. Like them at Wisconsin with better resources, I think something's about to happen in these next few years, and I want to be a part of it. And talking to Coach Fick, our relationship is cool. He remembered he brought some alumni that played with my cousin, like went back in the '90s and stuff. That was cool. And he was like I said, like we was really talking about the importance of development. People that are just taking players in the portal, that are already ready, and you got no bond. You can't really have a good team chemistry like that. Why not just get your class, build it from the ground up, and make sure everybody balls when the time's ready.
And I mean, that's the thing that they tried to do over there at Cincinnati. But you talked about, building from the front up, and that's not only on Wisconsin's mind. That's on the 27 other schools that offered you as well. I'm sure you're going to get a bevy of interest from now until National Signing Day. How do you kind of address that? How do you acknowledge that other schools are still interested, while still keeping your commitment to Wisconsin? What's kind of your mindset?
I mean, yeah, like I appreciate like every single school that's offered me, because they definitely like remember from the first one to the last one. I mean, to the latest one I got. It was always a special feeling. My parents are always turned. Everybody is always happy. And I just got to make sure that I thank them at the end of the day. For just sticking with me, but also like knowing that Wisconsin is where I'm gonna be at, and if they can't respect that, then it's like you kind of showing your true colors.
And do you plan on taking any additional visits? I know you had a lot this summer, but should an offer, or should some interest really pique you, do you plan on taking more, or are you done with visits?
If I do take a visit, it'll just be for a game, just to watch some football, like some local football, like some local games. That'll be, just to bring some people with me. I got to put my teammates on now so that we all can, get that exposure.
Okay, I feel you. I mean, taking one for the team in a way, allowing the rest of you guys to kind of gel. I got an interesting stat for you though. If you sign your national letter of intent, you will be the first player from Virginia to earn a scholarship for the Badgers ever in at least in recruiting rankings in history.
I was about to say Ron Dane, but yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because that was before. But I think since 2006 in the internet rankings era, or whenever that will be, the first
Mm.
from Virginia.
Now, I mean, that's a great stat. I mean, it had to be broken at some point, right? It's not really. I mean, it's a great stat, but it's not really something I just sit back and be like, wow, like you know, it's like applying more pressure or anything. I still gotta go in and do what I gotta do. I'm the first one in this era, so I have to be something great. That's all. The mindset is always just to be great.
Talking about recruiting, one last question. We talked about the position coaches with Coach Hitch and Coach Haynes. Tell me a little though about the energy from Director of Recruiting Pat Lambert, as well as Director of Player Personnel Max Steinecker.
Yeah, have you heard about them yet?
I have heard a lot about both of those guys. I've even seen them in person do their thing. They are energy at its finest.
Hey, at least like, look, I'm telling you, like, my mom said, like, you can't even say Pat's name without getting hyped now, cause every time we're around, he was always so hyped. Like, every time I call him, he's just pumped up. Even in practice, he just be pumped up every time. Max is like, Max is like his like backup kind of like he's hyped too. Like he's hyped with him. They definitely doing something great. They definitely influenced me on coming to Wisconsin too, because you're recruiting with that much energy, and then your coaches are hyped with you. Everything just look great. Everything just sound great, and everything's gonna be great.
One message to Wisconsin fans: what are they getting out of Remington Moss?
Shoot, just a humble athlete, I'm just a ball player, just wanna, contribute help us win a natty, you know what I'm saying? Like that should be the only goal at the end of the day, especially playing at this big of a stage. That's what I'm saying. I'm not playing at, a place like Duke, like where it's dang near impossible for them to get it. I'm at Wisconsin. They just got ranked what 19th
Yeah,
in
19.
yeah preseason, so they're gonna climb those rankings.
Hey, Duke fans, you heard it here first. Y'all ain't winning a natty. According to Remington Moss, y'all ain't winning no natty. Nah, but I'm joking around.
Chill.
But you heard it here. Remington Moss, the second commit for the Wisconsin Badgers in the 2025 class, the first ever commit in the internet rankings from Virginia, a cerebral player, a guy who plays with energy, and a lot more to come in 2025 for the Wisconsin Badgers. Remington, I thank you so much for your time today. Any last comments before we head on out of here?
Uh, really, I mean, I just tell everybody, stay tuned, to watch me ball this year. It's gonna be a great year.
100%. Last question, actually. Any personal goals before we head on out for this upcoming year?
No touchdowns allowed.
There you go. Lockdown machine. But guys, thank you guys so much. We will be back with some more interviews with some very special guests. But Remington, glad you got to kick us off here today and appreciate your time. We'll see you later.
All right, no problem.